I want to welcome everybody to the Tuesday, January 7th Cosmic Tower Q&A call with Nico and Martins and Patrick Durkin. And we have some people who have sent questions in ahead of time. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and start with those, but we always love having a dialogue with our audience. And so if you have something to say or a question or a comment as we go, we like to keep the conversation alive and happy to hear your voices. All right. So again, thanks for being here, Nico. Getting up at 3 in the morning in Asia is not exactly the first choice of how you probably want to spend your day, but we appreciate your dedication to the project.
It's all right.
Yeah, it's the price of being a world traveler, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Which towers are you traveling with on this trip? You have anything with you?
Not on this one because I learned a lot of the biogeometry stuff. So every place I go, I've been using that and testing with that, and um, yes, and also just to feel the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that contrast is really important. Like it's how we learn.
Mm-hmm.
If we get a little like I would get a little bit too forceful with saying structured water was the thing, and then I'd be like, all right, you gotta humble myself now and then. And so I remember one time I took a trip for the weekend to see my family, and I left all my devices at home, and I was like, we'll see how it goes. And I suffered for like 6 days after I got back home to recoup myself because the influence of the emotional patterns with the sugar, with the alcohol that was all part of that environment was just rough. Hopefully you
Yeah, I
didn't.
definitely like it much better when I'm with my tower, that's for sure.
Mhm.
And it's so much easier because you go to a place and you set it up. And I do love the biogeometry too. And, this is good to kind of, I mean, not going to say force, but encourage me to apply those skills. Um, but then, we go into a lot of different places. So every time going a new place, got to set it all up and then don't forget to take it all down. And it's just much easier at the tower with me. It's in Egypt right now with my friends. It's just much easier to set up and get it done. And yeah, I definitely feel it, and I'm definitely looking forward to be back with my towers.
Mm, that's great. Well, we've started publishing a new thing to share the stories that people are having with their towers. Now that more people are having a greater variety of experiences. Not many companies are as hands-on as Nico and I are with their customers. I mean, it's just not the way business is typically done. People are usually trying to get rid of their customer as quick as possible so they can get on to the next one. And it's like, well, we enjoy the dialogues. So I was noticing how many texts and stories people share with me on the phone, and it was like, gosh, people don't know these parts of the experiences people have with the towers. So we started a new tab on the Cosmic Tower product page, which is called Our Favorite Stories. And what happens is when I get off the phone or I get a text from somebody, I just try to, as soon as I finish that communication, just take notes as accurately as possible and then publish them. So you guys are welcome to start looking at that. I think one of the most telling and hopeful ones for me recently is this gentleman, this family got a 250, and the teenage children came to the house to feed the pets while the parents were away. And the daughter said that she felt compelled to both play crystal bowls for the tower and to worship with it. Like she couldn't leave it. And the hopefulness that gives me when teenagers are knowing themselves in that way and expressing that sensitivity is just kind of mind blowing to me. I think it's really extraordinary. So, um, for this chapter, Nico, going through Asia with biogeometry, I appreciate that you're always learning on the cutting edge. I think that's a beautiful thing, and the other things that people are doing, it fills in the picture, and the picture just keeps getting deeper and better deeper and better. So really, really great. Another person that I talked to recently um, described her cosmic tower as like an iron for her life. She's like, you know, the way an iron heats up water and then it takes the wrinkles out of your life, like the cosmic tower takes the wrinkles out of my life. Like, all right, I like that. That's a good way of expressing it. So, okay, let's get to. If anybody has a live question, feel free to raise your hand, and otherwise, we'll get to the ones that people have sent in. Um, so after watching Dr. Cowan's talk on easy water, I'm wondering what methods people use to increase easy water, and if the Cosmic Tower and Aqua Energizer are enough, or if other tools, supplements are useful. Since it is winter, it's harder to ground, although have people been finding the grounding mask during sleep or day helpful? Um, so I have a little bit of an answer to throw in there for that one, Nico, which is you can't create too much harmony. You know, the manner in which the human species is attacked right now through the water, through the food, through the air. I mean, we've microplastics in our bodies now. I mean, it's everywhere in every way. Why would we think when we start finding tools that harmonize that one is enough and then that's it? I mean, if you look at the way I live, I go from one healthy supplement to one healthy behavior to the next to the next to the next as often as I can, as many days in a row as I can. And then sometimes, you know, I need a break. I have a couple of guests staying with me from Lubbock, Texas right now, a 19-year-old and a 22-year-old. And the other day, the 19-year-old was like, all right, like enough of eating at Patter's house. Like, I just need some processed food. Like, I need something that's not good all the time. So, you know, we got him some sweets and some, I think he ate some Cheetos. I mean, that's his body, that's his choice. Mine doesn't respond well to that. But the better. You know, we're looking to create a new earth reality that is a high vibration experience in which we are supported. And I see somebody's lamp right now as we're talking, and I've been changing out my light bulbs. You know, I've been buying incandescent bulbs and doing that. I've been paying much more attention to circadian rhythms and doing my best to get up with the sun more and move early in the day outside. And actually, I'm starting to work outside more here and take meetings and different things outside so that I have the light in the background instead of this artificial light environment. So that's where I'll start the conversation. What do you want to do with that one, Nico?
Yeah, I don't really have much to add to that. You know, for me, I'm of the same opinion. Like, you know, we invest so much if you look at it in technologies that, you know, not everyone, but most of us realize destroy our health, right? If you want to add it up, how much we spend on cell phones, on laptops, on internet, on cell phone, you know, subscriptions, and we don't even question it. And yeah, there are a lot of good things, you know, that those technologies provide, right? They connect us and they make things like this possible where we're, you know, from all over the world and connecting with each other. But for me, it's the same thing when it comes to like creating harmony. I don't feel like we can do enough because yeah, also if I see how much I would have, you know, invested over a lifetime in things that not only, you know, harm myself and the people around me, but actually nature as a whole. Yeah, I'm always happy to add solutions to bring more harmony. And it's one thing if you're like, how should I say, like balancing things out or taking supplements, for example, you know, how much is too much and what are all the right doses and what is synergistic with each other. But when it comes to creating that harmonizing force or tapping into that one harmonizing quality of nature, like as it's called, the BG tree in biogeometry, but basically, the force of the center, the source energy that harmonizes and balances everything. Yeah, it's not like you can overdo that, right? And more is better for me there. I just learned a new technique through Dr. Kareem's work to where you can actually activate your brain, and then you can measure that BG3 is coming out of your eyes. So basically, everything you look at becomes harmonized. And that's what I've been playing with for the last month, because I just love, walking through the environment, knowing that even if I see a cell phone tower, that at that moment, just by like looking at it, it actually is harmonizing um, everything, that's within its reach. And I think ultimately that's also where we're heading in general. Like the cosmic towers are a great help, right? And they really help create that environment for us, and also to develop spiritually more. But if people ask me, how do you see the future, I just see, that everybody, I mean, not everybody, but a great majority of the people become these walking harmonizers. And basically, we're no longer the problem, or we're no longer destroying nature, but everywhere we go, and then very far out, just our energy ripples through the environment, and brings more harmony. So it's a long answer to a shorter question, but yeah, I don't think you can do enough harmony.
Yeah, I think it's great. And I'm going to take a second just to talk about our recent change in our trade-in program. The Wellness Enterprise has always allowed people to trade in structured water devices toward aqua energizers. And, the way it works is you trade in a old Natural Action Technologies device has been the one we get the most of, but also the Greenfield Water and the UMH and any of them. And we give you a discount for that feels fair off of the price of a new aqua energizer. So we are in business to have enough energy flowing through the company in the form of money that we get to be in business. So we're not here to give aqua energizers away. But at the same time, if you have technology that you invested in, that you were seeking to get harmony from, and it's not working out for you, and you want to engage us about that, about a possible trade in, we're open to some things that you may not be aware that somebody be open to. So you just email basically me at support@thewellnessenterprise.com, and tell me what you own and tell me what you wish you owned, and we'll do our best to give you credits and discounts and make trades that can work for everybody. And just so you understand what that's doing for us is, with each person that trades in, I ask them their story about the product, and we've been learning that, and we're just amassing a database of that knowledge so that we understand our field more deeply. Like, that's really valuable to us. And so eventually, if we end up with more of those products than we want, we intend to just give them away locally, or find people who can get benefit from them, or who are looking for them, and let them get benefit from them. But for now, we're using them as kind of a laboratory experience for us. So it's hard to um, direct all your money right to the thing that's actually going to cut through the health and wellness issues that you're dealing with. And a lot of us end up with things that have a lot of promise when we get them, and then they don't really fulfill on that. And hopefully, as we offer this, you guys see that we're the type of company that's in this with you, and that we're really just committed to having the best health and well-being. And if this is a part of the way we can supplement that, we want to. The other part of that first question that came in, Nico, was, has anybody actually dowsed these answers? I realize it's different for those in high EMF areas versus low EMF, but there may be some general guidelines. I think that this is a really important area to work on personal empowerment and rely on the community knowledge. I'll tell you quite honestly, if I hadn't had the privilege of rising up in the structured water industry to a high enough place that people taught me what their experiences were, I never would have been able to go where I've gone with this career. So the crowdsourcing of an opinion is of the essence to me. It's absolutely essential. I'm looking at Theo here on the call, and he's been a friend for like a decade. And, for those of you who've heard Theo speak, he measures and evaluates and he looks at everything. He's just got this huge intellect and this capacity to hold a lot of information and synthesize life experience. Well, that's a great compliment to the way I am. And so, over the course of a decade, I have counted on his opinion as a shaping factor in determining what I think is true. And one of the things he did in the last year was he did before and after measurements on people's homes prior to them receiving their cosmic tower that we were mailing to them. And all of those reports came back as positive to the point that he stopped doing it. It reached a conclusion. It's like, okay, well, when you ship a cosmic tower to a property, to a home, to a person, life gets better. It's an improvement every time. Like, we don't need to keep doing this game. And so that's how we learn together. So I think crowdsourcing the opinion is really important. But going back to this question specifically, there is the importance of knowing for yourself. And so as much as I count on Theo to be a voice that, like, I kind of know where he's coming from and I have a long history there, and it I might weight that more than other things. It's on me to know from my whole environment what I think about something. So, this is a biogeometry tool, right, Nico?
Yeah, it's not a biogeometry tool, but it's sold on Vesica, but it uses those principles.
Okay.
Uh,
Great. Well,
yeah.
that's why I asked you. I wanted to use the precise language. So, I don't really know like the everything about this thing, but I know that when I put the laser on my body, I feel different and I feel better. And I know that when I put this laser on foods or water or whatever, it improves it. And Nico can talk about the science of that and what happens there. I don't really care. Like, I just care that I feel good. So it's like, well, let's just play around with a laser on my body. Like, how hard is that to do? So, over time, I've come to own a lot of things like this that I don't really have the articulation of the science of them, but I know that it works for me and that I really like having it. So, you're much more likely to see Nico at a restaurant sneaking his laser out and lasering the table and having it there. Whereas for me, it's sitting here on my work desk. And I probably never gonna take it to a restaurant, even though there would be a benefit to it. And maybe I will, but the last couple of days I've had some pain in my body and I go like this on it and I feel better each time. I love that. That feels really awesome. So and then the other part of answering this question is, has anyone actually dowsed these answers, was the first part of it. Yes, like, we have dowsers who are part of our community and douse all the time, and that's part of the underlying community sourcing of opinions that we have as shared values, is that these things that we talk about do get validated by a lot of people. So I sit in the seat kind of like a mother hen sitting on all the eggs, wanting to like have crowdsourced opinion and knowing that people's lives get better. And then I talk more about what I see is making people's lives better. You want to add anything, Nico?
No, I mean, you're right, and yeah, it has been doused in Europe also, and then there's actually a bunch of people on the call here, like Mike and Theo, that have done that, and I think it's really important because also because I see the next question, is asking more for mainstream science validation. And mainstream science, it's not going to give you the answers because it leaves 90% of what shapes our reality out of the equation. And the cool thing about these different ways of doing radiesthesia and dowsing, it kind of gets a bad rep sometimes because people, when you say dowsing, they always think of mental dowsing, right? Oh, I'm gonna ask a question. Should I get this for lunch or that for lunch, and see and try to program the pendulum whether they get a yes or a no. And that, of course, is very, I'm not saying that there's people that can clearly do that, right? But it requires that you can really have a clear mind, and also that you don't have any unconscious interference. But with these physical radiesthesia tools, they work on a different level. They work on the level actually before the mind gets involved. So the tools actually create the resonance with the planes or with the energy that you're measuring. And what I really like about that, and you know me really well, like I like to test all these things, for myself and figure them out for myself. And that's what I encourage people to do, because if you're gonna wait for science to catch up, or actually to admit, I mean, science pretty much, I mean, all your Wi-Fi and all your other equipment has also been tested and is safe, right? But it only looks in the electromagnetic spectrum and maybe at the physical and the electromagnetic, but it leaves out things that it doesn't take into consideration, like how does it affect our minds? How does it affect our emotions? How does it affect our spiritual connection? These are all things of which people can feel the effects, but science doesn't acknowledge that. So for me, the way all that is going to change, and is changing on the planet, is that each and every one of us can learn these skills to figure it out for yourself. To where if you have a device, or you see something and you want to test it, so that you can do it yourself. And I think it's a really important shift that we need to make. If the world is going to change, we cannot keep looking at politicians, at scientists, at universities, that they're going to give us the real answer. No, it's going to be like people like Theo on the call, people like myself, like Mike. I see here that say like, okay, this is not that difficult a skill to learn. I'm going to learn it for myself. And then for once and for all, I can test for myself what works and what doesn't work. And I think that's really important, because it's all about coming back into our own power, and that puts you back into the driver's seat, so you stop looking outside for external validation. And then as you learn to tune into these energies, like using physical radiesthesia, naturally you develop more sensitivity for those particular energies, so you start to feel more of it, which can be a bit of a double-edged sword, right? If I have no cosmic towers and I go to a place where there's a lot of 5G, you can really like feel it, because you're more tuned into it. But that's what it's all about for me. So you become your own authority within yourself.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Marilyn is mentioning in the chat that she has holistic doctors who use kinesiology and have measured for her. Marilyn, I've been in that camp for so many years, like going to people and having them measure what makes sense for my body, and always felt, even though I used a pendulum, always felt um, less than powerful in those dialogues. And just keep sticking with it. And my intention is to have life be a walking meditation, right? Where I'm conscious enough all the time that I'm being mindful everywhere I go. And I think I've developed that sensitivity to a whole bunch of degrees where I could just follow my sense of what feels right to me a lot of the time. And then sometimes when the stakes get higher and there's like an injury, or a growth, or these type of things, then I can like lose all of that capacity to feel like I know, and I'll I'll be leaning into my friends, and I'll be going to people like Nico and Theo and asking them to measure for me because I lose my objectivity. And so it's a journey, you know. And I think one of the things that Nico has introduced in the last year that's really helpful is the BG3 pendulum, because it it just measures the presence of something beneficial. There's no mind in it. It's like, is this here or is this not here? Like you see both Theo and Nico like really, nodding their heads on that one, like really affirming that. So maybe get a BG3 pendulum and start to have the experience in your own personal life of being empowered to be the decision maker and the knower about each food and each supplement and each anything that you want to measure for BG3. And when there's more BG3, choosing more of that for yourself and then seeing how you feel. If you stack those healthy experiences, it's kind of like if you stop eating processed food and then you go and switch and like try to grab it, you just know how that's going to go. Like it's not going to go that well. um, so can you use the pendulum before you buy something? Absolutely. A lot of people do. I would be willing to bet that both Theo and Nico measure things online before purchasing them regularly, right? And that's the starting point. I do too. I just bet I don't have as much confidence doing it as they do. But that's okay.
It can be a little trickier, or you might need a bit more experience with it. But yeah, absolutely, you can do it. Definitely, if you're going to measure it off like a photo on your laptop, for example, or on your phone, because there's other energies uh, that you might be picking up from your phone or your laptop. But once you get really good about putting your selective awareness on something, almost for me, like if you're standing in the room almost and you really put your mind there, absolutely you can do it. And before or after, well, you probably heard this, but time is like an illusion. It's in the in the left brain that it is created, and we think of time as this line that only goes in one direction. But then if you look at the more spiritual traditions, they look more at cyclical time, right? If you missed this summer going to the beach, there is next summer, the cycle repeats. And then if you look in the more esoteric teachings, and if you look there, they look more at time as just being stacked, and you can move anywhere in the stack of time. You can move backwards. You can move anywhere through your awareness. We're totally capable of doing that.
As I look around the room and see who's here and think about my life experiences with a number of you, part of what ties the strongest relationships in this room together is that we will find something new that one of us will find and bring to the others, and then we affirm or deny it together. Like, is this good? Yes, no. And that tends to be a comforting feeling. I don't think anybody likes to do energetic testing and then be on an island by themselves and say, this is truth, follow me. It's much more important to say, this is my experience. I think this is really strong. What do you think? And then get that affirmed by people. So Marilyn, that's encouragement to live boldly and make new friends and tell people that you're a wacko and you're just interested in the energetics of things. And if they're not wacko like you, don't spend as much time with them. Like, find the ones who are living this authenticity that you value. That's what I've done, and then hang out with them. And so sometimes I'll get involved with an idea, and one of these friends that I have will kind of, feel them recede from it as I talk about it, and I'll be like, what? And they're like, well, you seem so excited about it, I don't want to say anything. I'm like, I just want to know your true experience. And they'll be like, well, I wouldn't touch that thing for these reasons. And that's really helpful. So getting out of being an island is really important. um, at least get yourself connected. Um, okay, so yeah, so it sounds like, Marilyn, you're also exploring lots of different tools. And so the thing is, like, now that the world has gone the way that it has, like, all of us could fill our day with fill our month with new tools and going and researching them. And um, it's a bit of a problem when you don't know how to lean inwards for the answers, because there's a lot of information published about all the different things. And so we at the Wellness Enterprise are not seeking to go engage with every tool out there. It's not, we can't keep up, and we can't experience them all, and it takes something to feel something through our energy system. So we found that when there's something that we really need to understand, life has a way of bringing it in that has us recognize, oh, this is something I need to be paying attention to, right? And so just have to develop an instinct around that, because we can't track down all the tools, and there's a lot of fakes and imposters out there. And we have developed, I think there's some shared principles between people that are here, and the basic one that matters the most is nature mimicry, right? If you can get as close as possible to the way nature does it. So for example, structured water is the water of nature, but some people structure their water using a machine that makes a loud noise and has electricity. I don't get it. Like, that's that's incongruent for me. It just, I would never get involved with that. So even though it's not structuring in a way that works for my nervous system. That would drive me crazy. Whereas the structured water device that we offer in the vortexing variety, the Aqua Energizer, it's made from the most natural materials that we can have. So I used to sell the natural action devices, and they're made from plastic. And what I would say was they're the best device in the world at the time. But now we have devices made from copper and crystals instead of made from plastic. How could I possibly stay involved with the one that's made from plastic? Like, it's not the best in the world anymore. Now there's better. So the principles of nature mimicry guide us and magnetize us and pull us closer. So I don't know how much time you're spending in nature every day or week, but I would encourage you to get your shoes off and get your bathing suit on or whatever it is, and just touch nature as much as you possibly can. Um, I have hugged a rainbow eucalyptus tree this week. I have walked barefoot on the earth. I have swam in the ocean. Go do those things. Find a way. All right. Great discussion. Really, really great. And then this sets up the next question, because where you're coming from has everything to do with the quality of the answer that you can get. So if you're coming from the traditional mainstream education system, and you're buying into the pharmaceutical paradigm, and you need a double blind study for your results, and you're only going to consider information that meets that standard, you're not going to be satisfied by this dialogue. Like, there isn't a shared openness and curiosity to find out where you're coming from when you ask a question has everything to do with the type of answer you can get. So this person not only wrote, but then they doubled down and wrote again. So this is perfect. I'll go ahead and share. So I'm currently undertaking a course, and a part of that course is about EMS. I very much want to purchase a product that will prevent further harm from occurring. However, I'm finding it a struggle to find legitimate products. Your Cosmic Tower has been recommended to me, and I've read about it on your site. Your research regarding the product consists of some letter from a university. I'm wondering whether you have any published research that supports the efficacy of your product, and if so, could you please provide me some links for me to read them further? So we got that as an email, and we sent back the science series um, that Nico recently put together. I think you all know what that is. If you don't, go to the Wellness Enterprise on YouTube and look up the Cosmic Tower Science series. It's a 9-part video series. It's really great. We released it to our email list 1 week at a time over 9 weeks in the fall of 2024. And it really, hits this whole thing out of the park. So we sent that to the person. And they sent back another email. Thank you for such a prompt reply. I appreciate it. I have no doubt the video you speak of explains the concept and how it works. However, I'd rather not watch it if there's no legitimate research that supports the claims within the video. Could you please supply links to any scientific research that has been undertaken and has been published in a journal? Your most expensive cosmic tower is over $18,000. With an investment like that, I'd absolutely be wanting to know it is supported by research. I hope you can appreciate that. In the absence of that, I will keep searching for research supported EMF blocking device. All right, Nico, set the stage for you.
Um, yeah, well, you're not going to find this in a scientific double-blind study environment because, quite frankly, the principles that are being used and acknowledging subtle energy and the other realms, that's just something that science, doesn't do. So if your fate is still in science, why are you so worried about EMF? They tell you, studies tell you it's all fine, right? And this comes again, and that there's nothing for you to worry about in whatever measurements they're doing. Everything is within the safe limits, right? Science only looks at quantity and then only looks in the electromagnetic spectrum, but it doesn't look at the quality of the energy. You could have a device that kills or that heals, and if you put your EMF meter in front of it, you're going to get a strong reading. But that EMF meter will not be able to tell you anything about the most important aspect, and which is the quality of the energy. Also, the way the towers and other harmonizing solutions work, and we've talked about this a lot, they do not work with blocking something out. You really cannot block EMF out. I mean, there's just certain components of it that travel very far and wide, and that you can't even stop it like a Faraday cage or any other type of shielding. So the only way really out of this is through harmonization. But science will not recognize harmonization. And I think this has been the challenge, not just with the Cosmic Tower or the Aqua Energizer, but many people, healers, energy healers, people that do amazing work and that use alternative modalities or even ancient ones that have been around for thousands of years. And science will just say, oh, that's just placebo effect. And that doesn't really do anything because we cannot pick it up, on the limited spectrum that we measure in. So yeah, for that person, I'm not gonna try to convince somebody like that. I just want to give the invitation and give people the opportunity and say, like, I didn't know about all this stuff 20 years ago either, right? But it's just because mainstream science was failing me in all these official studies and all that, but I was still experiencing ill health, and I went to look elsewhere in things that science considers that there's no merit to it, right? And if you're still in that paradigm, it's a very limited uh, paradigm to be in, and you're simply not going to get there because a lot of the disruption that happens with EMF is on the more subtle levels, right? On the mental and the emotional, on the spiritual level, and ultimately, science is the observation of phenomena, right? That's what science is really about, to look with an objective mind at the phenomena. Well, what about all these phenomena that all of us are experiencing every day, like thoughts, like emotions, and science excludes that from it. So yeah, there will never be a scientific research within the mainstream science until that mainstream science changes, and until mainstream science starts acknowledging the subtle realms, until that becomes mainstream, and that will happen over time. But until then, yeah, you're never going to get any confirmation of, and I'm not just talking about the cosmic tower, but also other solutions that are really beneficial and that can be shown with physical radiesthesia and that uses other principles that are in these numerous scientific models, but also you're not gonna find a solution for the EMF because even if you have one that science tells you like this one is approved, just know that it leaves 90% of what affects you, that it leaves that out of the equation. So again, I do not want to convince people like that, and I understand where they're coming from. But until we open up to a broader view of science and take everything that comprises reality into account, well, you're never going to be able to accurately measure solutions like this, but neither are you truly going to find um, a solution that really works for you, right? If you look at Dr. Kareem over 20 years ago, who went to Hamburg and because Swiss Telecom asked for his help and the Swiss government, and he resolved it with things that science absolutely does not acknowledge. And they even wanted to say it's the placebo effect. And Dr. Karim says, unless the cows speak Arabic, I don't see how they could have had such an improvement with just the placebo effect. Right. So they still had a hard time admitting to it. But then for me, I mean, it just kind of shows you the world that, we've currently been living in. You would think with such a successful study, because they could show actually, the improvement in the symptoms of the people and how they were having their quality of life back. But, how many of you know about this study? You would think that would be all over the news. It was on the news, like in Switzerland or whatever, but it just gets brushed under the carpet and we just move on and like that's where my big break with science came, which was like, what about all these things you can't explain? If this shows that your model is not accurate, you have to throw that model away and have to look at a new model that includes everything. But then because of vested interests and certain, finance industries that make a lot of money, basically, of people being not healthy, right? Because of that, these things don't come into the light. But that's all changing now, and I'm happy to see that people are actually opening up to that, and everybody has their own time. Right. So when the time is right, and like for me and like many others, when mainstream science has, like, failed you, then you go look for other solutions. And that's great because it's often those personal health challenges actually make us question what we're being told and what is the norm and what's considered mainstream.
I think that hits the heart of the matter, Nico, is that so many of us have seen a degradation of what our expectations are for what life should be. Like we think we should be healthy and feel well, and we get afflicted with the various things that come from being a part of this culture, and then we have to search for a different answer. And inside of searching for a different answer, we go to authorities who are trained in these systems that are trained in a narrow focus of science and exclusion of various variables. And maybe we get lucky and heal at one age, and then something recurs and it comes back, and we just keep getting driven and invited to understand life more widely and deeply. And the thing that gives me the biggest hope for what you predict as the changes that are coming in life is that individuals like the people on this call are taking control of their own lives and saying my life experience matters more than what a scientific paradigm is pushing on me. And so, what I'm particularly attuned to is watching in our community. Do people say their lives get better from the work that we do? And that's the measurement that matters above all else. And I think that's what drives the new paradigm in, is that people keep having experiences that just keep getting better. Um, was somebody raising a hand there? I saw a hand come up toward the phone. If you were, you're welcome to jump into the dialogue. And if it was just a random hand, I will keep going. Okay, Nico, does the cosmic tower go through concrete blocks?
Yes, it does. So it goes through matter, right? Because they're longitudinal compression waves, scalar waves. So that's concrete. That's not an issue. So no problem there.
All right, is the cosmic tower compatible with biogeometry lines installed in our home?
I'm not quite sure what is meant with biogeometry lines, but I'm assuming that the person means corrections that were made by using biogeometry tools, and then maybe specifically for earth lines to correct some of the detrimental energies. And yeah, absolutely, from my experience, and then also from the experience of others in our community, those two play well together.
Sounds good. Does the crystal inside the tower need to be cleaned periodically, and how often and how, if yes?
No, no, they get cleared before it's all put together, and then with the action of the toroidal field, they remain clear, so there's no need for that.
Awesome. Will the cosmic tower have an effect on someone that has cancer? By the way, this is the last question that's been pre-written in. So if you're going to raise your hand or participate live, your moment is coming. Otherwise, the call is going to be wrapping up. Will the cosmic tower have an effect on someone that has cancer?
Well, yeah, it's kind of a tricky question in a sense, but I understand the question, so it's not like we're making any medical claims or whatever. But let's look in general. What does the cosmic tower do? It creates a harmonious environment, right? And so helping to neutralize, harmonize EMFs, but also other distortions that can be the cause or part of the cause of disease, and harmonizing those. But then, as most of us know, we cannot look at something like cancer or another disease from a pure physical point of view. Right? We also have to look at the mental layer, at the emotional layer, and in the mental, especially in the unconscious. I've done a lot of work around that, training in hypnosis, and really, figuring out, where in the mind a blockage is. So the cosmic tower will help you to release those mental and emotional blockages, which all contributes to our overall health. But I think what's the most important is that it creates an environment, because I don't believe in anything doing healing other than our self-healing ability, ultimately within our connection to source, our connection to nature. So by providing the best environment for the body, for our being, of course, we create the best environment for the body to do its thing, right? For the balancing of nature to take place. So other things like basically putting life force back into the water, structuring the water, putting more life force into the fresh foods. These are all things that definitely will contribute to better health and to create a better external and internal environment to where healing is more likely, or where we give the body or ourselves more chances uh, to heal, right? Regardless then of what you decide, which is a personal decision of how you want to deal with, in this specific case, with cancer. Right.
Okay. So going to the chat, which crystals can be placed around the cosmic tower to amplify the effects?
Harold pretty much said, like, unless you can test it and know what you're doing, he advised not putting crystals to, too close to the tower. But the best way to do it is really, to measure and to see, because crystals, they come in different types, but they also come in different shapes. And shape is really important. And so there's many variables. So ultimately, there's no like clear like answer that you can give as like a rule of thumb. But to test it would be the best. And if you're not able to test it, just don't put them around them, and just have them sit elsewhere. I mean, it has the towers have a pretty powerful range without the need to amplify it. But hey, if you like to test and you like to play with it, like I do, by all means, do that.
Sounds good. Sticking with the chat, Nico, one story on website mentioned detox. What would that look like? Right.
Uh, yeah. Well, it's like any anytime we change the environment to where the body actually functions better and to where the body has more energy, right? That doesn't always mean that we immediately feel better. The body might say, like, okay, I really need to get these toxins out, or I have to get rid of that, but I don't have enough energy to deal with that right now. So I'm going to encapsulate them and keep them in the body until such a time of when there is enough energy so they can actually flush them out of the body. And, that's really like what a detox is. When the body is flushing out these toxins, we can temporarily actually feel a little worse to then feel a lot better uh, later. Now, this doesn't only happen on like the physical level, but it's also on the emotional and the mental level. And it's important for people to understand, because you can eat or drink something toxic and it's not good for you, and your body has to process it and has to flush it out. But how much do we poison ourselves, like with our minds, with detrimental thoughts? You could poison yourself like, I don't know, like 20 times a minute or more. So there's can also be detox on those more subtle levels, which is that maybe some mental or emotional patterns that are stuck or that are creating a blockage that need to go. And that's why it's not always like, oh, now I have my tower. And I mean, we get that quite a bit. Like in the beginning, I felt great, but now I have these things that I have to deal with, and it's no fun, because there's this expectation sometimes from people that, hey, I get this, and now everything's going to be harmonious, and my work is done. Well, it doesn't work that way, right? It's always inner journey, but just know, like, nothing moves like this in a straight line, right? You'll get more energy, and then you might stagnate or come down a little, and then you go up again. Um, but just, yeah, just be gentle with yourself, and just listen to your body. And but overall, we've hadn't had many like reports of too bad of a detox. But yeah, it's the same as with any healthy regimen or new thing that you're doing.
Great. Can you talk about minerals that Harold talked about?
Yeah, Harald talked a lot about the importance of having enough minerals in the body, and I think I forget the name of it, the Remag that he recommended, and the other one I forget.
Didn't he have a
Uh,
glutathione recommendation?
um, yes, but yes, he did, but Harold was like also kind of like extreme, like in those things, like take a lot of minerals and glutathione and this that and take a lot of different things, and everybody is different. But again, there I would say if you have the ability, like no two people are the same, and that's what works best for you. That's always gonna be my answer, but definitely it helps, if the body has the minerals in the right form that works for you to get to better health.
Generally speaking, I'd say we as a community support the idea that if you are sourcing minerals from high quality sources and you're inclined to take them, like sometimes I buy bottles of minerals and I just won't take them. It takes a daily perseverance to actually do that. But if you're inclined, taking more minerals is probably always better. And, there are thresholds where you can take too much, and you tend to learn that pretty quickly through your bowels. But generally speaking, high quality minerals, if you're inclined, take them. And probably a good idea to be at least taking some. So there are, in terms of what is the source for the best minerals, we like the limited amount of minerals that we're offering on our website. You can go down to a natural food store and find the person managing the supplement department and have a conversation with them about that, and pick some things up. It's a pretty good way to go. There's a lot of information about that. Okay, anybody else have a question? I'm just getting a private message that I'm typing the answer to here, um, and if that's it, anybody else? Going once, going twice. Thank you for showing up today, guys. It's really fun to come together with you. We really appreciate the chance to be part of the community and that we get to share our lives with you and talk about things that matter. It is the fulfillment of our life. So it's a big deal for us to come together. Thank you. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you every Tuesday, the first Tuesday of the month at 3 o'clock Eastern time. That's working out well. And yeah, we'll see you soon. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and end the call. All right, thanks for being up, Nico. Appreciate it.
No problem. My pleasure.
All right, bye for now.
Hey, Joel. Take care. Be good.
Bye bye.